The Go Idaho Podcast is hosted by Greg Langhaim and Ken Lee. In this podcast, we feature everything Idaho, including some of the most influential people in this great state. Now here's your host, Greg Langhaim.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Go Idaho Podcast. Today I have an incredible guest, an Idaho native, Dawn Aiken, and she's going to share with us some incredible things in her life, her story, and her background, and what she's doing to change lives here in Idaho. All right, so a little bit about Dawn. She is married, lives here in the Boise area, has two sons, a spoiled Doberman Pinscher, enjoys, I shouldn't say enjoys, you absolutely love the outdoors, and hiking. That is close to her heart, and she'll share some of that. But she is focused on really helping people become better versions of themselves via just everything, medicine, but also just exploring and getting out there and finding your true you, right? So she has a depth of knowledge from the cardiovascular world down at St. Luke's, and has opened up her own business called Flourish Idaho. So we're going to jump into that and learn all about Dawn.
Hi.
Flourish Idaho. I like the name.
Yeah, that was a friend helped me come up with that. She just said that Flourish was just a name that just surrounded me. And so it was born and bred from a very dear friend.
There you go. Mm-hmm. There you go.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay, so before we jump into what makes you one of the top medical minds here in Idaho, I think it's important that the listeners kind of get to know her a little bit. If you're enjoying this clip and you want to listen to the full interview, go to wherever you get your podcast and subscribe to the Go Idaho Podcast. Now, back to the show.
So we have to break the ice because I haven't, this is the first time I've met you.
Yeah.
So I need to know Dawn a little bit. So we're just going to jump in. What is your favorite movie?
The Color Purple.
Oh.
Hands down.
Really?
Yes.
I don't think I've ever met anybody who said that for their favorite movie, like right off the bat.
Oh,
it's always like the big movies, like Jurassic Park. That's me, but that's like a deep, kind of powerful movie.
Unbelievable story of adversity and overcoming, and the human spirit.
Okay. All right. Favorite food?
I would say toast.
Toast. Okay.
Wow.
All right.
Awesome.
Plain toast? Are we putting butter on it? Jam, jelly, avocado?
I do like just butter on toast, and I would say that I used avocado toast before it was avocado toast.
Oh, okay. All right. We're getting some answers I wasn't. This is great.
Awesome.
Okay. Favorite Idaho destination?
Oh my gosh. There's so many, but I've always said that if I had one day left on Earth and I could just time travel everywhere and do all my favorite things, I would skate ski the Harriman Trail up in Sun Valley in the morning, and I would run Holes Gulch at sunset.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Okay, that sounds incredible.
I think we need to go check those areas out, man.
I don't know about the ice skating, though. We might have issues with
Skate
that.
skiing.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like Nordic skiing.
Yeah, but
it's really hard.
Wait.
It's really hard.
The roller in the summer, that skate skiing, or just the cross country skate skiing?
Yeah, if there's Nordic skiing and there's cross country, which is in the line, where you're going like that, and then there's skate skiing, which is similar thin long skis, but you're doing more of a roller blading motion.
Got it.
Yeah,
but on the snow.
On the snow.
But do you also do that in the summer? Like, because in
Oregon, you can.
I always saw the guys going skate skiing up on their rollers.
You could. I am not that coordinated, and there's not brakes on those, so I feel like that would make it my last day on Earth.
Well, it already was the last day on Earth, so it's perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I guess it's my last day on Earth. I'll try that.
Okay. Favorite 80s song?
Oh my gosh, this is probably embarrassing, but I can't even pronounce it. Kyrie, like Kyrie. I would sing it, but I can't.
Can you sing it for us?
No. The road, the travel. I don't know. I could pull it up on my phone, but
maybe we'll have to look. We'll have to look. Okay. Favorite book?
Gosh, that's a good one. I have so many. I would say that probably my lifelong favorite I've probably read 3 or 4 times is Gone with the Wind. But I don't know that would. I don't know. I'll have to come back to that one.
Okay. Okay. How about this? Favorite band? It could be growing up or now or anything.
I listen to a wide variety of music, and if you if you saw my current playlist, it has everything from like Christian to country to like some rap with some pretty impressive language, so I can like blast my subwoofer in my Subaru.
Yeah, I mean Subaru and rap, that's what I think.
Exactly. Yeah, but my favorite singer / band, it's kind of a funny thing I've said a lot in life, is my favorite singer is Eddie Vedder and my favorite band is Pearl Jam. And at one point in my life I didn't know that they were the same. So that's why it's funny.
Really? You're a Pearl Jam guy too?
I love Pearl Jam.
Yeah, his voice is just incredible.
He does have a cool voice.
Yeah.
He does have a cool voice. Okay. Last thing before we get into the other stuff is favorite holiday.
I like Christmas.
Christmas.
Yeah, peaceful. I like the white snow and everybody comes home and seems like peace on earth. Very, apropos.
I agree. There's something about Christmas that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah. I mean, Dawn, you didn't grow up in the medical. You didn't grow up coming out of the womb of, hey, I'm going to be this amazing healthcare provider here in the state of Idaho. You had a pretty rough background from what you shared with me. So do you mind going into that? I mean, you were homeless, living in the streets of Nampa. Is that okay? So,
wow.
Yeah. And I share this stuff not because I think it's important, to know me, but I think it's important for people to understand that you can overcome anything in life. And I believe that I'm blessed because of my background, and I would never change it in one way. And so, I grew up in small town Idaho, Payette, Idaho, and it was a pretty rough family. I mean, I don't think, don't want to dog on my parents or anything. I think they did the best that they could, but it was pretty tough. And in and out of foster care, kind of a lot of crummy stuff, with childhood. And by the time I was 16, it was just better to be on my own, basically. So I independently left the foster care system and, that kind of world, and ended up just making my own way. And I would truly never slept on the street because I slept on one of the cook's couches for a while until I was able to get my own place. And I rented a little place from a printing press in Nampa called Art Craft Printing. I drove by there just even a couple months ago, and it was still there, but he had this little tiny apartment in the back of the printing press. It was like probably the size of this room, and you had to get up at 7 a.m. because that's when the printing press went off and you were awake. But I worked nights at Denny's in Nampa as a waitress there, and then I went to high school during the day and didn't sleep a lot, and just really,
Is that age 16?
Yeah, I was a sophomore in high school.
Wow.
Yeah, sophomore in high school.
I can't even imagine that.
Yeah, sophomore in high school. It was, I look back and I think, gosh, are those my stories? Like, it doesn't even make sense anymore from where I am now. It makes zero sense that was actually me and those are my memories. But yeah, it was definitely hard. Yeah, hard.
But what is cool, and you shared this with me before, is just how you had something inside of you that you knew this wasn't your end all be all. You weren't going to be on the streets your whole life.
Yeah. I would say, like when we talked the other day, the one thing I was born with was I just had this sense that I was meant for greater things, like even as a little girl. And like I knew that I just had to keep my eye on the prize. And I remember when I was a little girl telling my mom I wanted to be a doctor when I grew up. And I remember she laughed and she said, how about you just focus on being pretty and marrying well? That's probably your best shot in life. I always had this dream, of like this better life, and that was my blessing, was I had a vision. And no matter where I was, in those dark days or hard times or hungry days or sleepless nights or whatever, I always knew that if I just kept going, one step in front of the other, journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Like, you will get there. The time's going to pass anyway. What do you want to do? Where do you want to get to? Where do you want to be? Knowing that all you have to do is retrace your steps.
Well, there's, if people listening to this are feeling down on themselves because of maybe their environment or their situation, or maybe it's a kid who is just going through something. I mean, what message do you have other than just keep going? Because sometimes, and you've probably felt this, there is just a cloud of darkness and you just don't see a way out.
Yes.
How did you navigate through that darkness?
Somehow, by the grace of God, like, there were just people that were planted into my life along the way. And some of them, I know their names, and some of them I know their faces. But there were just people that offered me hope along the way. And I didn't really realize it at the time, but those were the messages of hope that kept me going. And so what I would say to anybody who, is kind of in that dark hole and not knowing how they're going to get out is start talking to people. Tell people your story. Tell people your vision. Tell people what you're trying to accomplish. Some people will put you down. Those are the people you stay away from. Some people will lift you up. And you just start hanging out and being around people who are going to lift you up, because sooner or later, like, you will get out of that hole. It is not forever.
I agree with that. I mean, there was times, I think there's times in all of our lives, right, where you're kind of just, things just aren't right. Things aren't going right. You're down, you're depressed, or whatever else is going on. At some point in your life, most people will have that.
100%.
And I love how you just say you find the people that are going to encourage, and you go next to them.
Yes.
Why go to the negative people?
Yeah.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. Okay, so 16, 17, you graduate. At that point where you kind of like, all right, or at 16 where you're already like, I'm an adult, like this is all me now. Like, is that kind of where it started? Or when you hit 18, we're kind of like, okay, now we're going after the goal. Like,
oh my gosh, there was no backup plan. I mean, I was 16 with no backup plan. Like, if I didn't have money for a bill, there was no money coming. If I didn't have food in the fridge, there was nobody that was going to get it but me. And I mean, there was truly no backup plan. I had siblings, but they were just in the same bad shape as I was. They were just all trying to make it through. And so there truly wasn't anybody I could call. And that's probably my mistake, because that's why I give people that advice, reach out. Because if I had reached out to more people, I would have had support. But I was too afraid to tell people, where I was. I was embarrassed of where I was, and I didn't want to be judged, and I wanted to be lifted up. So I tried to just pretend like I was more, so that I would be viewed as more. But no, from 16 on, I mean, even going to college, I went to Boise State because I had an apartment here. I had jobs here. I could afford Boise State, but I couldn't even get financial aid because I didn't have parents to sign the forms. And you couldn't become an emancipated minor until you were 24. Like, there was just such red tape with even the financial aid situation that, like, I had to go to college and write a tuition check myself, and so there was no backup plan. And I didn't do anything wrong. I worked, I stayed out of trouble. I just moved forward because I didn't have anybody to bail me out if I did something wrong.
That's impressive by itself. At 16, 17, 18, there's no way I could have done that. I was a mess. Anyway.
You could have. If you had to, you could have. That's
true.
The thing, Yeah, and I had siblings. I had a younger sister, and, I had people that I had to set an example for. So, I was breaking out for not just myself, but for other people.
Wow. That's incredible. So you started in the college, just busting your butt.
Yeah.
What took you into medicine?
Oh my gosh. I think that was just, I just was interested in the sciences. Like, I loved it. I mean, and my brain just functioned that way. I mean, I took 22 credits a semester because 22 is the same price as 12.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's
like, it was truly like going to a buffet. College for me was like, get as much money out of the situation as you could. And I just, for some reason, I just could soak in the sciences and just had a really good memory with that stuff. And I just found it really interesting. And I just found myself kind of in the, the pre-med track, with a lot of my study buddies were just pre-med people. And so that was the direction I really wanted to go. And I mean, that had been my childhood dream, to be a doctor.
That's so cool.
Yeah, you did tell your mom, hey,
I did.
I'm going to be a doctor one day.
Yeah.
And here we are, right?
Yeah.
But you're just not. You're dual certified. And you're a acute care cardiac nurse practitioner. Is that right?
Yes.
And then you also are an internal medicine hospitalist.
Nurse practitioner.
Yes.
Yes. So I didn't get to be a doctor, and that was just because when it came time to, apply for med school and all that, that's a very expensive process. And I was truly, barely hanging on and, life financially back then with my apartment in Boise State and all my waitressing jobs and everything in between. And it didn't really seem possible. And that's where I messed up. So that's, again, another message I would say to people is that, if you want something, ask people for help. Oh my gosh, if I would have gone to an advisor back then and told them my situation with my grades and everything, I know there were programs that could have helped me and support me and pushed me through, but I didn't know to ask. And so for that reason, I chose the nurse practitioner route because it was doable. I could afford that education, and that education was available to me in Idaho.
But so you're doing that. You got hired on at St. Luke's in cardiology.
Not initially.
Okay.
Yeah. When I went to, I was a nurse first. And so to be a nurse practitioner, you start in nursing school and become a registered nurse and then go on to get your master's or doctorate, in your nursing education, whatever you choose. And I was a telemetry nurse, a cardiac nurse at St. Luke's. And in that area, you're surrounded just by the very best minds. And I mean, these physicians at St. Luke's raised me up. I mean, these are people that poured into me, and I'm eternally grateful for the education that they provided me. And so I did a lot of clinicals with them on the side because it wasn't supported by my education, because my education was family nurse practitioner. And so you need clinicals that support that education. And I did hundreds of extra hours, in the acute care setting with the internal medicine hospitalist team. And they even put me in kind of informally with the medical residency program, and just let me kind of join in that. I mean, these people just trained me up and taught me so much. And so that was my humble beginnings, was the internal medicine hospitalist team. And that was a long time ago, back when they didn't even really hire nurse practitioners and PAs very often. It was a very special accomplishment to be hired into that role and to be trained up by those physicians.
That's awesome.
And then later on, I transitioned into cardiology to specialize a little bit further because I've always just had a love of the heart.
Well, I mean, speaking of that, I mean, what is going on right now with our food and everything that, I mean, you're seeing it on a day. You have patients probably come in every day that are having, they still know, right? They go to their normal doctor and they give them medicine and what's happening in America with
That is a great question, and really a simple question. I mean, the human body is very complex, so we won't go down that rabbit hole of what could be happening with every little body, and cell. But in the big scheme of things, every single disease or symptom is the exact same process. You start with an inflammatory trigger, and inflammation is good if it's meant to heal a wound or a burn or, some sudden insult to your body. But if that inflammatory trigger and inflammation goes on for too long, it becomes negative in the body and it leads to oxidative stress. And then oxidative stress, then left unchecked, leads to some type of immune dysfunction. And that's where you get disease and symptoms of disease. And so medicine in general is trained to identify over here this symptoms of immune dysfunction and surgically treat it, medically treat it, medicine treat it, things like that. But functional medicine, I think we're probably getting here, is meant to go to the back and identify the inflammatory trigger. And so for the vast majority of people, the inflammatory triggers are things that we're choosing to put in our bodies, either purposely or unknowingly. And so the food that we're eating is not the same food that we were eating, back in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. It's very, very different. And there's pesticides and herbicides and chemicals that are used, in food manufacturing and growth that are just not good for human consumption. And in general, a small amount your body can handle and tolerate, but over time, with enough of a toxin load in the body, it does lead to disease or symptoms of disease. And so the food supply is the foundation, of disease. I mean, what you put in your body matters. And I don't know if that answered your question.
Oh, totally. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's just, there's so much information and it's like, how do you know what is the right stuff for your individual body? I mean, Ken, he might just slam broccoli all day and it works for him.
Definitely not slamming broccoli all day.
I slam, lean beef and I have a bad reaction. You know what I mean?
Yes,
like, it's so,
I do.
And it just seems like there's just what you are taught, a plate of veggies, with a balanced portion. Is that like still accurate?
Well,
or is it kind of case by case?
I mean, I would say that there are some general things that would be accurate for most people, but a lot of people, once they are feeling bad, they have some inflammatory things, and maybe there's some things in the diet that would be good in general, but maybe aren't good for them at that point. So we're not going to talk about anybody who's suffering from symptoms of disease, because there's so many different things that people should or should not, even within the healthy spectrum of foods. Some people react to things in a negative way. in illness, and they won't react to them when they're healthy later, so we won't talk about that. But in general, I would say what I tell my patients is think of food the way it was 100 years ago. And if you would have it on your plate and it was readily available 100 years ago, that's a wonderful food to eat. And I'm also talking about like, did we feed, cattle and meat, our meat supply, like this moldy, like pesticide laden grain 100 years ago? No, we didn't. They were grass fed. Our husbands were going out and hunting and filling up our, root cellars, with, some type of a, organic, elk or something. We didn't even have that word back then. But that's what I'm saying. Like, you want to eat good food that's healthy and clean, and you want your meat food to be eating healthy, good food. So 100 years ago, eat those types of foods. And if it's processed and, fed food that's not good, try to avoid that. That's the simplest thing possible.
It's so funny you say that, because people always, I always struggle with my weight. It's just a thing that I've just kind of I've dealt with my whole life. And, so, I've tried all the crash diets, I've done, keto, and cool. I get in a state of ketosis and lose a bunch of weight all fast. And then if somebody was to ask me though, like, okay, what's the healthiest way to live? I always say this to my family and to my friends. Well, think about how when God created this world, eat the foods that were there. Eat the food. If you're eating fruits that are from a tree, it's healthy. If it's from the ground, if vegetables, that's healthy. If it's meat, it's healthy. If you're eating processed, I'm sorry, but I'm a nacho guy. I love my nacho cheese. That's not nacho cheese isn't a natural thing. That's not normal.
No,
but I love it. And so I was just like, if you just ate and that's why I think one of the things, I don't know I have no idea what your thoughts are like on the Mediterranean diet, but my doctor said, hey, Mediterranean diet, because that's food. They're eating foods that were natural to the environment. And so, I tried that for a little while, but it got really hard. It got really hard.
Nacho cheese.
I wanted some nacho cheese.
I know.
No, but anyway, it's just interesting that you say that.
Yeah. And in a state of illness, somebody, I might say, don't eat very many fruits because we have to worry about your blood sugar and your insulin response and things like that. But once you get somebody to a state of health, yes, that is the wisest. And it's funny, you don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to be a medical person to intuitively know that. That's the thing about the body. You don't need anybody to intuitively tell you what's wrong with your body and what to do about it. We all kind of know.
Yeah.
Well, what's amazing is you have so much knowledge about all of this, but you yourself came down with an illness, right?
Yeah.
So do you mind sharing your journey and how you,
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. Yeah. I've said it so many times, like, I'm Western medicine with just blue blood Western medicine pumping through my brains. I was trained by the smartest physicians in Idaho, and I was trained to, think and feel and act like them. And I was grateful for that education. And so there was a time when if you would have asked me some of these questions, I would have never thought these answers would come out of my mouth. But again, personal experience always changes your perception. And so back around 2015, 2016, I came down with a neurological, autoimmune condition. And I was so confused because I truly am a really healthy person and kind of always have been. I was, raised to eat, healthy foods. We grew it ourselves more because we were poor, but I've just always eaten healthy, healthy and exercised. And it was very perplexing to me. And the answer that I got from the Western medicine community was, it's probably genetic. There's no cure. Here's these very expensive medicines. And that's just kind of it. And out of desperation, I sought out the opinion of a functional medicine nurse practitioner that I know. And that's when I learned about things I'd never even considered, body toxicity, heavy metals, molds, different things that can truly trigger inflammation, oxidative stress, autoimmune dysfunction, and so I was over here. And so going through the process of figuring out what triggered that, finding that, and then learning how to just get that out of my body and reverse it, I was fine. I've been fine ever since. And no symptoms, everything's great. I'm 100% healthy. And not that I haven't had bumps in the road along the way, because we live in a toxic environment, but it radically changed, my view on medicine and how I interacted with each of my patients.
So I have a question on that. So did you have, when you started going down that path of the functional medicine and all that stuff, did you have your doubts? Were you like, I don't know about this. I don't know. Because, I mean, you came from the medical field. So were you kind of, you know, so like, and on that note, I have a question written here, and I think it goes perfect with this. It says, what's one myth about the functional medicine industry that you want to debunk? You know, because like, he told me that he was meeting with you, and I'm a skeptic. I'm like, okay, what are we talking about here? What is this? You know, so what's something you want to debunk about it?
Yeah. Again, before I had my own personal experience, I would have literally used this word. Functional medicine is quackery. Like, I would have said that. Like,
I'm sorry, but that's me. Like, I'm a skeptic.
Okay,
right?
as you should be. Like, I mean, the thing about life is you should ask questions until you're satisfied with the answer. And it doesn't matter to me if you want to ask a question about whether it's valid, you know, way to treat your body.
Right.
That is appropriate things to ask. And what's not appropriate is gaslighting and telling somebody that their question's stupid or not giving them an appropriate answer. And so I don't mind the questions. I've had them all myself. Again, if you heard some of the things I said about functional medicine before I became a functional medicine practitioner, I mean, I would turn red. I'm embarrassed. You know, I didn't have as open up a mind as I wish I would have, but it took a personal health crisis for me to have an open mind. And I think a lot of people get to that point, and that's when it's right for them. Right. But yeah, so I guess the myth would be that that it's just kind of voodoo medicine that's not based upon science. Couldn't be further from the truth. Functional medicine is based upon the foundations of science, cellular functioning and pathophysiology, you know, and everything goes right down to what is affecting your cell at the cellular level, and what's it doing to your body, and how do we influence that process.
Now, this may be a rabbit hole we do not want to chase, but why do you think it's not as well known or as popular? I mean, and that might be a bad rabbit hole to chase. Like, hey, it's the medicine, it's the money, and the I don't know.
No, that's a great question. And what's interesting is I think that you have the perception that it's not popular because it's not something that's in your field. You know, it's not something that is around you. But in society, I mean, functional medicine is very popular. Like the largest functional medicine business, you know, in Idaho, I'm good friends with the owners. I mean, they told me a couple, you know, maybe 6 months ago that she had a waiting list of over 1,500 people.
Oh my word.
You know,
wow.
And so, I mean, I mean, people are seeking health, and it's hard. I mean, Western medicine is so good, you know, when there is an acute emergency, when there's something devastating, when we need to save a life and we need to fix something that's really gone wrong. We do a great job of that, and there's nothing that can compare, you know, to that. If I'm having a heart attack, I want to be in the downtown St. Luke's cath lab. That's where I want to be. There's no other place I'd rather be. And but people are starting to ask questions like, how do I not get there? Like, and I recently had a client, and it's this, I hear this story all the time. This person came to me because they said, I've gone to the doctor every year, you know, for the last 5 years, and every time I go, I weigh more, my blood pressure is worse, my cholesterol is worse, and I get another medicine. And I'm trying really hard, like I'm eating this, I'm doing this, I'm trying to work out, and it's still going the wrong way, and I don't understand. And the only answer I get is, well, here's another medicine, try a little harder, do something. And I want to know why. And what they're asking is, what's that inflammatory trigger? Because there's something there that has not been removed. And so the process is still continuing. And we're just piling on medicines over here, try to shut that process down. But we need to find this trigger. And so it's very popular.
You're touching my heart right now. And I didn't know I was going to even go down this path. Yeah. So my mom died of Alzheimer's about 2 years ago now. And I just remember the last 8 years of her life, she had so much medicine. And me and my brothers, we would talk to my dad, and he didn't, we just said, there's got to be something different. I think this medicine is probably just even hurting her at this point, you know, with so many other things is like, and I just wish we could turn back time, and I know that there's a better way. There was a better way to deal with that, you know, maybe to give her more time or to even feel better, you know? And I just wish I could turn back time and do that for her and my dad. And the funny thing is, me and my brothers, we knew like deep down in our hearts that it's all this medicine, that's not right. But we didn't know how to push, you know, our parents and my dad to be like, just stop it. Let's go do something else, you know? And maybe it was money. Maybe it was, well, this is what we do. And in our society, we go to the doctor, we get some more pills, and, you know, I don't know. I imagine there's so many people with those kinds of stories.
It's true. Yeah. And I'm truly coming from a place of knowing both worlds very, very well. And I know the very smartest and the very best physicians in the state of Idaho. And I know them personally. I go to dinner with them. They're on my cell phones. I mean, I know these people, and I am one of these people. And there isn't a single medical doctor that I know that would ever cause harm, you know, to anybody. What I think is hard in society is that, you know, just the way the insurance reimbursement situation is set up. I mean, you're only reimbursed for a 15-minute visit, and there's pressure to see so many people during the day to make the numbers that you have to make to support, you know, some of the organizations and things. It's very complex. And then on top of that, the vast majority of individuals, you know, in society, even though we're sitting around here having this conversation about how we want to be healthy and, you know, optimize our bodies, a lot of people don't care. I mean, you'd be surprised, like how many people don't care and just want a medicine and just want to kind of just go down that road and keep eating, you know, their fast food and, you know, just kind of slowly whittle away. And so, there's a time and a place for everything. And the thing is I know that any individual who truly showed up, you know, at a good-hearted doctor's office, Western medicine, you know, functional medicine alike, and said, help me, and ask the right questions, they'll get help. You know, it's just more of a circuitous route sometimes, just because of the way the industry is set up.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like just kind of what you said at the very beginning about, you know, just vocalizing, you know, just asking questions. You start attracting the right people. And I feel like that's kind of how we got in touch a little bit, Dawn, is just I was personally looking for, there's got to be something that is right, that can work. And so take an individual, I mean, I know the process, but maybe a listener doesn't know the process. If they want to say, okay, Dawn, I want to come, where do they start? Or what's the process that you take in order to kind of learn about that person's cellular makeup, I guess, or what's going on?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is a fun process. Like, I get really excited about medicine, and I always call it the Nancy Drew aspect of medicine. Like, I love to dig, and I'm known at St. Luke's for wanting the hardest cases. And like, the physicians will make sure that I get the toughest cases because I love to dig into them. Like, I love the meat of it and the mystery of it. I really enjoy medicine. And so if somebody comes to me, and a lot of times people will say, well, I don't want to, I'm just a mess. Like, I don't know. And I'm like, no, that's okay. Like, bring me your mess. That's what I want to do. I mean, I spend probably a new consult for me probably takes me a good 8 hours of research. You know, by the time I, you know, look at the multiple pages of forms that I have people fill out, you know, that offer me a lot of clues. I do a full medical, you know, records look as far back as I can find.
So
you know,
this isn't a 15-minute doctor visit.
No. No. I mean, I'm looking at, you know, every lab abnormality. Like, if somebody's had a CAT scan 10 years ago, I'm looking at, you know, the images myself and trying to figure out, like, is there something that wasn't reported upon? Is there like a little plaque here or abnormality there? And I'm just going through all the different things, and then sit down and talk to somebody, and everybody's different. Some people it takes about an hour. Some people it takes 2, you know, whatever it takes. You know, I only, you know, have one new consult, you know, each day, you know, for this reason. It takes a long time. And so you just get to know somebody, and as much education as I can. And then depending on the person, I'm not going to guess at anything. Like, by the time people have gotten to my door, they are frustrated. You know, they have not had answers for a long time, and they just want some help. And so we figure out what functional medicine testing or Western medicine testing is needed to figure out what that inflammatory trigger is. And then we go there. And once we have the information, it's incredible. I always tell people, if you give me the time, the resources, and your willingness to let me boss you around a little bit, I can get you where you want to be.
I feel like my consult would be a really long consult.
It's fun though.
I would be I'd bring the mess guy. I would be that guy.
That's okay. It's fun. That's what I love.
so you get all that information back, you tailor a plan specifically for that person to move forward in their life and get some hope back, or you know, and then they can kind of take it from there.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Now, are there, so this is going a little deep, I think, and we've talked about this.
Yeah.
There's got to be some, well, you have a tool in your office that is beneficial, or you've seen some beneficial for people. It's not a cure-all, it's not a miracle, but it's the Rasha machine.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We got to go deep on the Rasha.
Greg has talked to me about the Rasha machine.
I've used it
gosh.
twice. I've been on it twice.
Yeah.
Well, but we got to hear the whole story of how it came into your life and how you're using it in your practice.
Yes, yes. And I'm going to share this, you know, knowing that, and again, knowing that the people that need to hear this, it will resonate with, and it'll mean something too. The people that are not there and are not needing this, it will sound like I have a tinfoil hat on, and that's okay because like I'm saying it for the people who need it. And so, but it's the craziest story. Do you want the whole story?
Give it to me. Yeah,
okay.
I think you have to build that background because
The Rasha machine story. Here it goes.
It's
oh my gosh! Like, and once again, like in life, like this is one of those stories where if I would hear myself talk right now 5 years ago, I'd be like, "Who is that girl?" Like that is not like something I would have said. But again, like experience leads you to where you are, and so this goes back to 2007, and this really isn't that long of a story. But back in 2007, I was doing a lot of cycling and training, and I had a horrible cycling accident, and I was unconscious on the side of the road, almost died. Like it was a really terrible accident, and by the grace of God and by my cycling partner who was there and you know knew what to do, like I lived, but it was the craziest day. Like what I remember of the day is totally whatever is different than what everybody else remembers of the day because I had an experience that at the time I chalked up to a head injury because I had a terrible head injury. And so in any event, but my memory of the day is that I was in a different place, and that's how the day started for me. And it was as real and tangible as we are sitting here. I was surrounded by people that I knew and trusted and loved, and it was a very good place. I wouldn't even call it like a heaven. It was just a place, like just a normal place. And out of nowhere, something literally grabbed my body and just threw me. And suddenly I was just, my consciousness was just hurling through like this dark tunnel with this light at the end of the tunnel. And of course I thought, I'm dying. Like, but I couldn't figure out how I died because I was like just sitting at dinner with some people. Like it was very, very disorienting. And as soon as I hit the light, I was on the ground here, like in this body, in this space. And I was, what was so confusing was I was marred by how cold it was. I was marred how heavy it felt. And I actually thought I'd gone to hell, like is kind of how it felt. Because I felt so good inside my body from where I had just been. Right. And I felt so cold and empty and dark, like in this moment. And of course I was in a lot of pain and a lot of things were happening. And the paramedics, the paramedics were there on the side of the road and they were asking me all these questions and I was answering as if I was somebody else. And the only thing that kind of brought me, you know, into coherence with where I am now was my training partner was asking me about my children. You know, what are your children's names? And I guess that mama blood, you know, just you know, you can't, yeah. And so I remembered, you know, my children, and it was kind of like, but then the next couple of weeks was very disorienting to me. It was just this transitional state, and what was so hard was like I literally felt so good inside my body, but I felt so cold and. It's an intangible feeling, like a feeling you can't describe because there aren't words for how like there's a certain like light and warmth that can be like in your soul in any event. So that eventually went away. Here I am managing my life. I chalk all this up to a head injury and move on. Never even mention this story because it's weird. You know? And in any event, so then last fall, just I was working in, the COVID unit and, doing a lot of extra shifts for the cardiac service and the internal medicine hospital service through the last couple of years. It's been, obviously rough in the community. And so I was working almost every day, picking up a lot of shifts and just a lot. And I really, really, really burnt out my body with all of this and, lots of illnesses myself and things like that, because you're just in that, realm. And so I was very sick last fall and needed to get myself, and I knew what was happening because I know this process. So I'm like, okay, I've got to get this figured out. So I'm starting this process myself again. But I was really sick, and just these people kept coming into my life, and I definitely believe like in the energy exchange of the world. And so like I ran into this lady, and she just randomly asked me, she's a different person than me completely, and she said, I feel like I'm supposed to ask you, to come to my house and meet my friends. It was just kind of a weird thing. So weird that I said yes. Like, maybe one of these days something bad is going to happen to me. But like, I sense people's energy, and like, she was a good person, and in any event. So then I meet this other woman at her home, and I'm telling my story about how I even met this girl, and I don't feel well, and I'm sick, and like all these things, and this girl, her name's Katie, and she says, I have this machine called the Rasha, and I think it can help you. And she said, come to my house, and again, so again, I'm going to somebody else's random place, and in any event, but what this machine, and I wouldn't have believed it if I had not experienced it, because but it's a device that it uses scalar energy, and the scalar energy is basically, if I say there's energy and frequency, we all know what that is. There's magnetic energy, like you can vibrate, a tuning fork, those things we can touch and feel and see. Scalar energy is the type of energy of your thoughts, of your consciousness. And so we all actually intuitively understand scalar energy, because I can think something and you can feel it and it, we just sometimes don't validate that, so we discount it. But we do all understand scalar energy, and so the Rasha machine uses scalar energy and quantum physics, based mathematics, to basically channel your thought process into like self-healing energy for your body. It's as simple as that. That's all it is. It's not doing anything to you or anything. You listen to vibrations, and tones, and you use your own thoughts on what you want. So for me at the time, it was I want radical healing. I want wholeness, and peace, and I'm just listening to these tones and thinking about what I want. And after the third time on the machine, and each time I felt something, like I knew there was something more than just listening to tones, like my body was changing and there was a difference, a palpable difference. But by the third time, it just gives me the chills, because after I finished it, I had that feeling back from 2007, that warmth and deep, like inner peace, like that, like intangible, like light and like just like beauty, like inside my soul, like was back, and I recognized it right away. And I thought, oh my gosh, like I think I had a near-death experience in 2007, and it's not, because it wouldn't be possible to have those same two feelings, in, especially knowing what the device is designed to do. It's meant to harmonize, your soul, really ultimately. And in harmonizing your soul, your body is able to self-heal. And so, and that feeling never went away. Like I still have it now. Like it's there. Like it's part of me. And so I intuitively knew that I needed to be able to offer this to more people. Like if this could do this for me, it could help other people too. It's not for everybody. Some people would say, boy, Dawn, get your tinfoil hat off. Like I'll see you in the cath lab, But,
right. Well, yeah, no, I get that. I mean, I have questions, I'm thinking in my mind, is it like a tool? Because I before I'm a skeptic about a lot of stuff.
Sure, as you should be.
That's just the way I live my life, as a police officer, ex-police officer. That's just, I'm a skeptic.
Yeah.
But I remember being in college, and we went to Knott's Berry Farm down in Southern California, and my brother went on stage and got hypnotized. And I said, and I know my brother.
Yeah.
And he was doing some of the craziest things, super funny things. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, then this guy had, and I know this is way different, But where I'm going with this is I bought the tape from this guy that how to get the best night's sleep ever. And it was literally I played the tape, and he walks you through all these different relaxing things, but and a lot of it is the mental portion of it. And I just remember waking up. I really had the best night's sleep ever. It was the weirdest thing. So is it a lot? I don't know. Maybe this is a skeptic. Is it a lot of more being able to take yourself mentally to a place where you didn't know you could go, kind of, maybe? I don't know. Or I don't know. That's the way I feel like it might be.
Like meditating almost a little bit?
Yeah, maybe like a meditation or a hypnotist kind. I don't know. I don't know. Or am I way off track?
No, I don't think you're off track at all. I think that it's a very complicated subject with, words and terms and ideas that we're not taught. And so it seems really confusing to grasp. I myself have felt that way as I've gone through this journey, but no, it is similar to that. I don't even think that you need a Rasha machine or a Rasha treatment to get the benefits. Just, it makes it easier because you have something that's kind of pushing your body a little bit, with those frequencies and that true scalar energy.
Right.
I mean, this is the type of, self-healing energy that's been practiced in, Eastern cultures and things for, centuries and thousands of years. I mean, you can truly self-heal your body, with just your thoughts, and your consciousness. And that's simply all it is. But in this world, that's hard to imagine. And a machine like the Rasha, it's the simplest thing in the world. It just shows you that it's possible because it accelerates the process.
Gotcha.
But no, it's the same thing. It's using your subconsciousness to self-heal yourself.
Yeah, because I know you can use your subconscious to make yourself feel pain.
Yep. You bet.
I know this personally because I went through some depression and some anxiety issues. Yeah. And I remember telling my friends and my wife and people, man, I've just got this pain in the back. And it was just all something I literally took myself to.
Yes.
There was nothing. I mean, there was nothing there.
And if somebody says to you, in the middle of that pain, oh, it's all in your head, somehow that feels personal. And it's I would never do that to myself. I'm not nuts. But literally, your body can do that to yourself. So could your body give you heart disease? Could your mind give you something worse? Dude,
that's a crazy thought.
It is a crazy thought, and I don't know the answer to it, but I tell every single one of my clients, the freest thing you have is your mind. It's free. Think good thoughts.
I like that.
Think good thoughts towards yourself and others. It's free. It's cheap. It's easy. And we all intuitively know it. If I think ugly thoughts about myself, I know how I feel. I just feel kind of dark and down. If I think nice things or somebody says something nice to me, I feel happy, and so why wouldn't I want to practice that more? I want to feel good and let my body act in a state of goodness.
So as you've brought this machine into your practice, what have you seen? Obviously you're doing you're giving people a plan, but you also are allowing them to experience as part of the treatment, the Rasha. So, what has been your findings with people?
Oh my gosh. It's I don't even know what to say necessarily because it's pretty humbling. I mean, like I said, I'm a Western medicine science-based, practitioner trained by the very best minds in this state and am with my roots in evidence-based medicine. And then just by experience have gone down this road where I'm no, there's more and we're going to incorporate it all to figure out what's going to help you. And so it's the most humbling thing I probably have experienced in a long time. And wow. And all I would ever tell somebody who wanted to try it is it can't do anything to you. I mean, it's not doing anything. All it's letting you do is relax your mind and concentrate on what you want for your body and allow your body to take over.
But the frequency, it connects with your cells, right?
Yes.
So it's almost like whatever is going on, it just kind of helps make those cells whole. Is that?
This is the best way I can describe it. So I'm sorry, I'm getting super excited now because so in the world of like medicine and science, one of my pet peeves is if you're using really big words or terms and facts and figures that I can't understand or validate, it just makes me feel like I can't ask a question and I just have to take your word for it. And so so this is the way I understand the machine the very best is, and there's a lot of research on this, and you could even do these experiments at home if you had a microscope.
Okay.
So basically we are 70-80% water depending on how much we're drinking, and so our cells are filled with fluid, water, and if you take frequency and energy devices, even just the frequency of your own voice, there's a Japanese scientist in the 60s and 70s who did thousands of these experiments and has documented his work. The Hidden Messages in Water is a really good book, to read, a quick one, if you want to read more about this. But basically, he took water from polluted areas, from fresh springs, from all kinds of different things, and looked at them under a microscope and just the baseline. A lot of times this baseline water looked like kind of viruses and bacteria and just looked unhealthy. Then all he would do was speak to it and say, "You're a beautiful drop of water. Like, I love you. You have purpose in this world." I mean, imagine speaking to your water like that.
Yeah.
I love you, water.
I do that to nachos.
Exactly.
So it's really not that crazy.
No, it's not. It's probably actually good. In any event. And then he would look at the same water molecule under the microscope and it would look like a beautiful snowflake. What? It would transform. I'm not kidding. Just research it for yourself. And so consider that. If I myself think negative thoughts about myself, what does that do to the water in my body? And how does that affect my cellular structure if it looks like ugly, harmful things versus a beautiful snowflake? And so that's what the device has been like researched, in a lab, for that, where they've taken blood samples, from people before and after the Rasha and, and looked at actually like the organization of the blood cells. And so it truly does, like the frequency and vibration does like organize your cells like in a self-healing way. And it's fascinating to me.
You're almost like, it's almost like cooking or mixing. Think about it, like if you're 80% or whatever percent water that you said, right? So if you take water, but you mix something with it and you stir it, or if it does like this, the ocean, or like water can move, or it vibrates, right? It's going to change everything, right?
Yes.
So I can see how that.
I've done the Rasha.
That is true. You've done it now.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
what's
let's
your
talk
experience?
about your experience.
Yeah.
So when we first met, you kind of introduced this and said, "Hey, I just want you to try it really quick." I think we did a 15-minute session, and I didn't know what to experience. I nothing for me happened in that 15 minutes. So then we came back and you gave me a full, just over an hour on that machine. And I think, but prior to that, I watched a podcast about it, and the gentleman who was doing, explaining it from the creator or the founder of the Rasha or whoever invented
the inventor.
it. Yeah. The gentleman who tried it, I can't remember his name, but it took him all different places, and so I was going in thinking I was going to be transported and like have all these little, go back in time and I don't know, find
Bill and Ted's Adventure or what? I mean, what were you
points in my life? I don't know what I just was expected to be transported. But nothing happened for me. And I think I couldn't settle my mind down. I was anticipating that moment where I get sucked into a black hole and nothing happened. Well, yesterday I went and did the Rasha for about an hour. But when I met Dawn, I had just a heavy weekend, a really stressful weekend. There was just, I just was down, and I was a little bit more subdued, I guess, and I was, getting on the Rasha, and I don't know when it was, about halfway through, I just felt all the heaviness just go, and then I had a bunch of pain in my heel, and then after that, like after the machine was over, or the session was over, I felt sharp, I felt more alert. I could have an engaging conversation with Dawn, but before that, I just was not feeling great. And then after that, I was doing great. So I feel like that totally did something because I've never just felt random pain in my heel, and I've never felt something so heavy just leave. And
do you feel like before you went into the session yesterday, you were more open-minded about it? Because I remember the first time you did it, we talked, and you were just like, I didn't feel anything. I don't know, whatever. But then you're like, but I want me to do it again. Do you feel like you kind of had a different mindset when you went in there?
Completely, because I was so anticipating things to happen that first time. I was anticipating the transport, but then I just was like, I'm just gonna let it be and just see what happens.
Dude, it's crazy. What is the ankle thing? What do you think that?
The heel. It was in my heel.
In your heel.
I just felt a sharp pain in my heel. I don't know if that was just the heaviness. That was the
leaving your body.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I think if we had like an Eastern medicine healer here, they could probably answer that question right away.
Yeah.
But I don't know the answer about the heel. But just doing this, with so many people this year, everybody kind of consistently says the same thing. They say, I feel like I have this vibration in my body, or, I feel like I'm tingling places. And then what they'll generally say is they'll say, I have a lot of warmth or pain, like in my back or hip or stomach. And generally, like where they're at, where that warmth or discomfort is, during the event, is something that's a medical problem for them. They're like, I've always had a problem with my back. And so like with chakras and energy mediums and stuff, that's my opinion is probably on that. Is that's where those energy centers are getting stuck and need to like flow and get past, But again, I would definitely defer to somebody who was way wiser in that than me. But people frequently say that. Hearing the heel thing doesn't surprise me.
Wow.
It's very, very...
Have you ever had a heel injury before? Maybe like in sports?
I don't think so.
Ankles though, maybe.
Ankles for sure.
Rolled ankles and
Tons,
stuff.
yeah.
That's connected to your heel.
Hip bones connected to that.
No, really it is.
We could make a case for this.
Yeah, like I got you, dude. I got you.
Yeah.
It's because you rolled your ankle so many times in basketball. That's what it was.
That was...
I think the whole point is with these types of, devices or, therapies, is that ultimately you intuitively know that you feel better and are a better human being and interact in society better when you feel good and where you're talking positively to yourself, and you have more pain and dysfunction and feel worse when you're telling yourself bad things. And so if there's something that can move you over to more of a positive, harmonized state, it's a good thing. Whether or not you can completely understand it or describe it, it's a good thing.
Now, not every doctor has the Rasha.
No, there's not very many in the country.
So that's amazing. How did you get it? I mean,
how many people in Idaho? Okay, for our Idaho listeners, right?
There's
listening
only
to this
2
podcast.
in Idaho. And other than that, I don't think there's any like in a 6-state area. I mean, and there's only 2 in Idaho because I tried, Katie Packwoods. She's with, what's her business? Oh my gosh, she does neurolinguistics. We'll have to post it, below here too. Okay. But she's a good friend of mine. But I only bought one because I tried hers, and then I just know so many people need it. We could have 100 in this city and we still wouldn't have enough. You know? So it's not, there's not very many. And there's not very many because the company doesn't just sell them to anybody. There's a very rigorous process you have to go through to get one.
Okay.
It's not really a business. It's a, what's the word I want to look for?
Almost
service to humanity is what they call it.
Gotcha.
It has to be used in a service to humanity way.
Okay. Yeah, you just can't grab it to sell it to get more clients. They take more like whole approach. Like that's amazing.
Yeah, if you were just going to buy one, only 2 in Idaho.
And are they here in Boise?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. She's got hers in Eagle, and we work together. We have a collective that we work together with, so that we can make it available to more people.
That's amazing.
Oh, that is great.
Yeah,
that's amazing. You mentioned something because the water. Water is a huge component in our bodies in the cell. So talk to there when you go to the store, you want to pick the right water, or you just do the tap water.
Yes.
There's so many different variables of water.
I'm just like I'm sweating right now thinking about like the conversation. It's an important conversation.
Yeah. So we're supposed to drink X amount of fluids per day for just to keep going. But what's the right type of water? Distilled, spring, like just bottled?
Okay. Yep. So if there's anything you can do to change your health for the better right now, today, it's to improve the quality of your water. Hands down, non-negotiable in my mind.
But can't I just speak to it and it'll change into a nice little...
I actually think that you probably could,
Okay.
To be honest. I actually do, but I don't think that would necessarily remove all the toxins from it. But So the first thing that I would have anybody listening to this, no matter where they are, is go to this website, www.ewg.org / whatever it is, tap water. That's the environmental working group, and it's their tap water database. Type in your zip code and it will pull up all of the contaminants in your personal water supply if you're on city water. And if you're in Boise, do it for Boise and then get on the phone to Suez Water and start complaining because
Serious.
Arsenic, uranium. I mean, we have stuff in our water here in the Boise area. Eagle's better, Meridian's not that great. But it is a big deal. And on their database, you can't drink the city water. You just can't. It's not drinkable. What that's doing is that's contributing to calcifications, cancers, infertility. Just all you have to do, and don't take my word for it, you can just look up the chemicals for yourself that you're drinking in your tap water and decide if you want that in your body and your children's bodies. And I would say no. And so when it comes to like what to drink instead, anything that's in a bottle or a plastic jug or whatever, I struggle with because I don't exactly know where the source is. Bottled at the source, spring water. I don't know. And
mountain spring water. Really? Somebody went up there and held the bottle under the mountain spring?
I'd like to think so, but I don't know. So I would have to contact those individual companies and find out, individually before I dogged on any specific brand. But I would say do your research if you're drinking out of, somebody else's at the source, source. But what I do know is that I run toxicology testing, environmental toxin testings on a lot of people. And I have people who have $5,000 water filters at their home and their office, and they come up with some chemicals that are not known to be in this area. What? And I'm like, why? And then they're like, ooh, I drink a ton of this specific brand of bottled water, and I won't say it here, but I'll tell you guys off the record. I'm like, well, that explains it. Stop drinking that, because I know it's being filtered out with your filter. So I don't trust anything that I haven't filtered myself. And so that's the one thing. And then I think your other question is like, what's the difference between like the different types of
spring water or distilled water or
Yes.
all that.
Yeah. So basically, if you're like reading the label, it's basically spring water would say like it's coming from a spring, and I would just say verify that. Verify that before you drink it. And the other types of water that you can get are basically how was it purified or filtered out somehow. And so typically people do carbon-based filters, reverse osmosis filters. Distilled water is very popular right now. And ultimately, it's basically all a definition of what does it take out and what does it leave in. And so like distilled water and reverse osmosis water, those are probably taking out the most. So the most impurities, toxins, viruses, bacteria, pharmaceutical medications, etc. But they also remove a lot of the minerals, that are supposed to be in water too. So you have to be aware of that and like add back in. Carbon-based filters maybe don't get as many of the toxins out, but they leave the minerals in. And so when I'm helping my clients figure out what water is best for their homes, generally we start with the environmental working group, tap water database, and figure out what do we need to worry about for your area, and then looking at their true body, environmental toxin panel to see if there's anything kind of weird in there that we need to be worried about. Because I would love for people to be able to do a less expensive water filter than some of these very expensive whole house filters, but it depends on the person.
What about we have a refrigerator that's got the the little water thing, and then there's a little filter you throw in there. Is that decent?
Maybe it depends on the brand. Like all you have to do is just contact the company and ask them about the big things. So I do have people who have some amazing fridge filters, and I know that because when I do their labs for their environmental toxins, they don't have some of the big things that I see in, tap water patients. So,
but when the little light comes on that says your filter needs to be replaced, you probably should
change
replace it.
Please change it.
Don't leave it in there for 2 years and keep hitting the reset button.
Change
over.
it.
Okay.
Just look at the tap water database. Ask yourself if you want yourself, your family, and your pets to drink that water, and then make your own choice.
Not that I've done that.
Yeah.
Nobody
has.
But what do you do? You know, if you're listening to this, you're driving in the car or wherever, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like what do I do? Should I just do I just go and grab something? I mean, like, do they get? I don't know. Right now, like, say they're driving, they're listening to this, and they're like, okay, I want to do something about this afternoon. What is one thing that they could go to the store or something to be like, okay, this will help you starting like right today? So
I have no financial relationship with any of these companies whatsoever. This is just what I would tell my friend is like, I mean, I don't think a Brita water filter gets everything out by any stretch of the imagination, but you can get one at Target today and start filtering water for your family and your kids and your pets while you figure out what you need for your own home, doing a little bit more research. And because if you just wanted to know, I want everything out of my water, I want the very best of the best, just by a reverse osmosis or a water distillation process for your home. That's going to get out everything that you want it to get out, and then you're going to have to add back minerals. The downside of that is both of them waste a lot of water, in the process. So about 3 to 5 times what you drink is actually wasted. And so depending on environmental concerns, drought, and things like that, that might not be exactly what you want to do. But if you need just the best, you just go down that route. You just get your checkbook out and just go down that route. If you're like me and just want to be a little bit more fiscally responsible, do your research for your area, get a carbon-based filter, and then decide if you need to take out the big guns.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And then also, like, I think probably a really good one, I have one in my kids' cars. Everybody has one in case we're, like, stranded on the side of the road and you have to drink out of the river. Berkey is a really good carbon-based water filter that a lot of people use, and it's really good for emergencies. And they have a BPA plastic bottle, which we could go down that rabbit hole. I'm not sure that's the best thing for you either, but like for an emergency or something to do right now, it at least gets some of the crud out of your water that you want out for now. And you can take it to work with you, fill up your water from the water jug and know that you're not drinking poison.
Well,
that's crazy.
I'm really scared. So she's just talking about water right now.
I know.
Like, I have a Red Bull Energy over there. Can you imagine Can you imagine the stuff if I start telling her the stuff how many Diet Cokes in a day I drink?
What I try really hard to do is give people actionable steps that they can accomplish and do. And then once you feel better and are like, have a better habit with a certain thing, then we start whittling away at some of that other stuff. You don't have to do it all at once.
There we go.
Do a little bit better than yesterday today.
There we go.
That's going to get you a little further than
That's
you want.
right. Can't do it all at once.
No, do a little bit better.
Okay, so give me some stuff you do on the off season. Like, not off season, but like you carry a heavy load. It seems like, you really care for your patients. And what's your outlet? How do you just, like, are you into racing? Are you into cycling? Are you into this? Oh, you mentioned skate skiing.
Oh, yeah.
Is there anything going on in your life that just allows you to go off and vent?
Oh my gosh. I for one never feel like I have to like really vent. Like I truly feel like I've created this life where like I don't have to escape from it. Like I love my life. Like I love my patients. Like my patients are like my family, and if you're not going to be like my family, you can go somewhere else. Like, I mean, like we're going to be cool. Like we're going to have a great time, and we're going to anyway. I never feel like I need to like blow off steam and vent. I really have a good life, but I think you're asking me my very favorite question.
Maybe. I think so.
Oh my gosh. So right now I just decided to train for my 5th full distance Ironman, and I'm really looking forward to that. Jeez. So, and it's been a while since I've made it to the start line of one of these things. So it feels like my first again. I'm terrified. I'm worried that I can't do it, which is good. It's motivating.
Where's this Ironman?
Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. We are so lucky. There's not very many sanctioned events in the country, and we are lucky that Coeur d'Alene hosts one every few years. So in 2023, I'll be up there looking at that water for the 5th time and praying to the good Lord to let me see
Let's
the
hope
finish
it's during
line.
the summertime.
Yeah,
when
it's
the water
in June.
isn't so cold.
Yeah, it's in June, but you want it to be kind of cold because
That's
it's
true.
so, it could, yeah, I'd rather have it be a little cold. Usually the water is cold up
Boy,
there.
plus, the triathlon is the running, cycling, swimming.
Yeah, swim, bike,
Okay.
run. Yeah, swim, bike, run. Yeah, and I'm a little bit of a triathlon snob, so like I have.
What does that mean?
It's because I didn't say it right.
It's because she didn't say it
Oh,
right.
gotcha. Okay.
He knows.
I figured it out.
Yeah, like I'm afraid that if I did like smaller events, like they're hard. I feel like I would then be discouraged and not want to do the big events. So I only do the big events because
Go big or go home.
Go big or go home. That's my line. Yeah. So this is a full distance Ironman. So it's 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike, and it's 6,000 feet of vertical climbing. And then it's a full marathon, 26.2 mile run.
112 mile bike.
Yep.
I have a hard time driving 112 miles without getting tired.
I know. When we go from Ketchum, when we stay up there for the weekend and go back to Boise, that's about the distance of an Ironman to drive home. And so like I like to go, okay, I just finished the swim. Okay, now I'm on the bike. And then you get to the point of the highway, you're like, okay, now we're gonna run home.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of fun to kind of put it into perspective.
Yeah. Is there something special about the Coeur d'Alene triathlon, or is this just you like the area? Or
Well, for me, it's special. One,
Okay.
because I'm born and raised Idaho. Like Idaho is my home. I mean, I know why everyone's coming here because it's amazing. Like, why would you not want to come to Idaho? I never want to leave. And so, my first Ironman was the Coeur d'Alene Ironman back in 2006, and so it is near and dear to my heart. And like, there's a few things in my life that like mean something to me at a personal level, and those are the birth of my children. It's like when you see your babies for the first time, and that dang finish line. And if my husband's listening, the day I got married to him.
Yeah, you gotta score those points. That's important.
Yeah, he knows. He knows.
That's important.
He knows.
Can we get into some of this now?
yeah, I think that'd be fun.
Okay, this is my personal favorite part.
Okay.
Like you get excited, I get excited about this part of the interview because
All
this is
right.
like the rapid fire fun stuff for me.
Okay.
So, all right, and this is just going to be a this or that. It's
Okay.
simple and first thing that comes to your mind when I give you these things. All right, Italian food or Chinese food?
Italian.
That's 2 for 2.
Yeah.
Everybody always chooses Italian. Okay, mountains or the beach?
Mountains, 100%.
That's an Idaho girl right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Burgers or tacos?
Burgers.
Okay. Summer or winter?
Winter.
Okay.
That's the skate skiing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or as I call it, the ice skating for some reason. I don't know where my head was on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Ketchup or ranch?
Ketchup.
Okay. Air guitar or air drums?
Guitar.
And can you give us a little air guitar?
If you knew my son, my youngest son, he's like Jimi Hendrix. So
Oh.
I've been practicing a lot, Like,
Oh. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Okay. Vacation or staycation?
Staycation.
Ooh, a staycation. Just relax. Okay. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Watch sports or play sports? I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this.
Yeah. Do I have to answer?
Yeah, play sports.
We don't even own a TV.
Yeah. Okay. Movie or a book?
A book.
Okay. I know you picked book, but scary movie or comedy movie?
Comedy. I couldn't watch a scary movie. It would give me nightmares. The last one I
Really?
watched was The Ring, and I still think I'm seeing that girl like come out of a hotel.
That one's tough.
In the hotel, like when there's a TV, like I still think she's going to
Yeah.
come out.
That's a scary movie.
That's
though.
the
That
last
one's
scary
pretty
movie
good.
I ever watched.
That one's-
Never again.
I love scary movies, but I also love a good comedy. All right. This could get deep. Change the future or change the past?
I changed the past.
Yeah.
Yeah. How
Okay.
could you not want to fix some of your mistakes?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just the last one, just one's for fun. Batman or Superman?
Superman. Because Clark Kent looks like my husband.
Oh.
For real.
No,
My
she's just trying to score
husband. No,
points with
I'm
her
not.
husband.
No, he's the most handsome man I've ever seen. He knows it. There's no points there. He knows.
That's cool. I love that.
That's awesome.
Love that.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Wow, that was a lot of info.
Yes.
And I think you just shared so much for just someone who is struggling in life, how to just reach out and ask for help. Someone who wants to change their, the way they feel, positive thoughts. And just a simple change of going onto that website, learning what's in their water can really kind of shift how someone feels throughout the day and drinking more water. So, Dawn, people I know are going to want to connect with you. So how can they find you? How can they schedule an appointment with you or a consult and be like, I want to just hook up with you because I feel like I have something going on in my life that you can fix? How do they find you?
Yeah, great question. I have a small practice, and so it's very personal, and people find that out pretty quick. So there's 3 different ways. You can go to my website, which is flourishidahofm.com, and you can click the contact or connect or apply to be a client, and all of those will take you to something that sends an information to me directly. You can email me at dawn@flourishidahofm.com and just say who you are, and then also on Instagram, if you just click the connect with me, it'll send straight to my email as well, or DM me.
Awesome. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, we will leave all of that information down below in the description. If you're not listening on the podcast. So we'll have that for you guys available.
Yeah. Dawn, thanks so much. You're changing people here in Idaho.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Well, we have to keep it Idaho, and they have to raise the vibration. Idaho's awesome. People are nice. We have to vibrate higher.
There we go. Right? Positive vibes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Love
it's
it.
true. It's true.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us.